Hey, this is Walter Jones.
This is Austin St. John.
And you're listening to
Ranger Danger.
Go, go, Ranger Danger. Go, go, Ranger Danger. Go, go, Ranger Danger. Matt and Michael's Ranger Danger.
Welcome once again to Mighty Morphin Ranger Danger, the podcast where we do Power Rangers and watch things. My name's Matt. Michael's also here. Now, kind of a good news, good news situation this week. The good news is that the lovely Sarah has joined us once again. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello, how you guys doing?
Well, that's actually the bad news.
Oh.
I feel like I'm about to die.
Yes.
It's going to be the worst episode we've ever done. Or possibly the best episode we've ever done. You'll have to wait and see.
My body is collapsing on me internally.
It's
and
hilarious to watch, I've got to say.
It's quite adorable, actually.
I'm so glad you're enjoying my pain. But the good news is that we have fancy new microphones for the first time.
I hope. We may have to record this podcast again.
Don't ever say that to me.
Can you imagine if we had to do an episode twice?
No, I can't.
Has it not happened?
Not yet.
Don't jinx us now, sir. Touch wood. I've got a big wooden table here.
Touching
Okay,
wood.
that's going to make a lot of noise with the new microphones.
Yeah, well, there we go. We had to demonstrate their incredible wood picking up quality. So today we're going to be watching episode number 82 of the podcast, entitled The Ninja Encounter Part 1.
Yep.
Part of a 3-part series in which we're introduced to the 3 new Power Rangers, red, yellow, and black, respectively. And we'll...
Respectively? Respectively to what?
Shut up. I'm doing so well.
What are you implying?
Best episode ever.
I respect them. So before we go and watch The Ninja Encounter Part 1, Michael, is there anything that we should discuss?
So, yeah, there is. I think we should talk about the 3 actors who are leaving the show at this point.
Certainly, that would be Austin St. John, Walter Jones, and Twee?
We believe so.
Twee?
No one's written in to tell us that we're wrong.
Okay, so we'll see Twee, who plays Trini the Yellow Ranger.
Yes. So, I mean, by this point in the show, they've already left.
That the actors have left the program.
Yes. But this is the point at which they'd figured out, okay, we're going to need some new people.
Yeah.
It's interesting, actually. They don't come in as new Power Rangers this week, or even at the end of the 3-parter. There's still another 5 or 6 episodes before they actually get powers. And it's interesting that they kind of decided that, you know, we don't need new Power Rangers straight away. We can fake it for like a month.
Yeah, because they end up using a lot of stock footage and stuff like that, don't they?
Yeah, well, we'll see,
We will see. You can lend our own perspective.
But so, historically, the reason that they've discussed having walked out has always been pay.
Yeah.
It was that this show was a multi-billion-dollar kind of...
I think billion's probably a bit high, but close to.
Certainly many, many tens of millions, I'd say.
I would say hundreds of millions.
Right. The show was making money hand over fist.
Yep.
It cost nothing to make because they shot like half an episode of a TV show to shoot a whole episode.
Even then, it was very scant budget.
Yeah. And so one of the parts of that, of course, is that they weren't paying the actors anything.
Not only were they not paying actors like proper union rates, according to Austin St. John, he was getting roughly what like a worker at a drive-thru at McDonald's would be getting.
So I've got an interesting document about that, which is why I bring it up. So this is from the very early 2000s. It's actually about Power Rangers in space.
Ah, yes.
But
I'm familiar with that program.
I have to assume that their pay was fairly similar.
Yeah.
So this is Roger Velasco, who plays Carlos, the Green Ranger, many years from now. So this article says that he showed up 45 minutes late for a looping session. Mm-hmm. And as part of that, he was docked some... Well, they can't dock his pay because he's got a contract to be paid a certain amount.
Yeah.
So what there is they get a bonus per episode for good behaviour. Right? So the idea being that what they can do is
take away your
dock
bonus.
the bonus.
Yeah.
Which is clever, if not
nefarious.
Nefarious and kind of an arsehole thing to do.
Yeah.
So what this says here is that in 2000, they were making less than $1,000 an episode with $200 extra as a bonus.
Okay.
So, look, for a show that's shooting an episode a day or an episode every 2 days.
That's actually pretty
That's
simple.
amazing.
It's-
Well, no,
Isn't it not?
I mean, again, we come back to the fact that it was doing quite well at this
Yes,
time.
that's the thing.
And
is-
although that you sort of shoot 50 episodes in a year, that you do that in a couple of months and then that's it for the year, you know?
Right, okay.
So you're really making $50,000 a
Oh,
year.
okay. So
So-
that's good perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're making, what is a good wage.
Yeah.
But for a show that was, I mean, I can't imagine Austin St. John and Walter Jones making much more than that.
Yeah.
Especially because the show was nothing when they started. They could have had an even worse deal than that.
Yeah.
And so, to be making $40,000 a year for when the show is making, like, The Boss, millions and millions of
Unspeakably
dollars.
rich.
Who is the boss?
His name is Haim Saban.
Yep.
He came over from Israel. I believe.
Israel, yes.
Yeah. And he is, as I said, unspeakably rich. Very soon, actually, he's going to be holding a fundraising event for Hillary Clinton at his giant mansion property, where tickets to attend are $2,700 each.
Or 2 episodes wage.
Just to get into the event.
Wow.
And the reason it's that is because that's actually the maximum the political donation laws let them set it at. So presumably they'd jack it up even more if they could.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting that Haim Saban is a good friend of Hillary Clinton, because I always just assumed he'd be a Republican.
Yeah.
He seems like that.
You
sort
mean
of like,
because he's built a capitalist engine that makes him as much money as possible for as little money as possible.
crushes the poor,
Exploiting all the workers beneath his feet.
Yeah, that's exactly why.
For some reason, I just assumed.
but no, he's actually a big fan of Hillary Clinton. So there you go.
There you go. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, look, the pay would not have been great. And given how successful the show was, I can certainly understand them going back and trying to renegotiate.
Yeah.
By all accounts, they went in to try to renegotiate. Saban, or whoever it was they actually spoke to, told them to go away, and they were fired more or less on the spot.
Yeah. Well, they actually had dialogue to finish for certain episodes that they just had like the sound engineer dub their voices.
Yeah.
They were shown the door immediately.
Which is crazy.
It is crazy. And like so bold for them at the time, because some of them at least on the like the staff running the show must have been afraid that the show would tank after you get rid of half of their main cast.
Yeah, I
including the
mean,
leader.
look, the show's 80 episodes in. It's been airing for not a lot over a year.
Yeah.
It's certainly incredibly popular. But what you're doing is you're taking your core cast and you're replacing half of them in a week.
And for like adult shows, it's been demonstrated that can tear the show apart.
Yeah, sometimes it certainly works out.
Yeah.
Sometimes what it needs is that revitalization.
Yeah.
But I guess what they were banking on is that kids care more about the suits and the giant robots fighting.
Yeah.
But given the huge outcry when Jason David Frank left, not that many weeks before this stuff must have been going down, it's really interesting that they were really ready to go, all right, well, I guess we'll get rid of 3 of them and kids won't mind.
Unfortunately, they were proven right. The show only increased in popularity after this point. And basically didn't affect the show at all.
Yeah. I wonder what would have happened to the show if they'd stayed.
I can't imagine it would have been hugely different. As much as
Yeah.
the incoming Rangers are different characters, they don't change the dynamic of the show.
No, that's
really.
fair.
I mean, if anything, it only serves to sort of lower the position of the Red Ranger in the hierarchy and boost the White Ranger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you take away the established leader, put in someone new, and it makes it much easier for you to just say, oh, look, the White Ranger's the leader now, which the kids love because they love Tommy.
That's interesting, actually, because apparently the line of dialogue where Tommy is officially made the leader was a hastily ADR bit of, put together, because as that episode was being produced, these guys quit or were fired. And they went, well, we don't want a new guy to be the leader, so let's have Zordon say, and Tommy's the leader now.
Yeah.
So-
it's basically a very easy way for them to be able to be like, look, the leader of the Power Rangers didn't leave because there's a new one now.
But I wonder, had Austin St. John stuck around, if the kind of cult of personality around Tommy would still have...
They certainly, before that point, seemed to be establishing a dynamic where they were like co-leaders of the team.
Yeah.
And although there was a very, very small amount of tension between them, really they were sort of the closest partners on the team almost.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine the history of the show probably plays out pretty much the same. But there certainly could have been some interesting kind of weird specific-y things that may have happened had this not happened.
Do you find it frustrating, like at least from a creative point of view, that something so shallow and like easily, sort of, I don't know, like obviously
Money-minded.
minded could be so successful?
Yes.
I mean, I understand...
I guess what I'm mostly disappointed about, not even from a creative level necessarily, more from a like fair pay for creative people perspective, is that there was no punishment for them cutting people for asking for slightly more than minimum wage on a huge television series. Like it was a brutal thing to happen, and there were no consequences.
Yeah,
and that to me, outside of the actual in-universe creative aspects, that's what bums me out. I think.
sure.
I mean, it's still a very prevalent issue in a lot of creative fields. Like, I mean, it's different now to then. It's come a long way, but I think it's still very difficult for people to wrap their mind around of translating creative pursuits into currency.
Yeah. I mean, look, the reason this show is currently shot in New Zealand is that they were going to cancel it, and an executive went to the higher execs and said, I think if we move production to New Zealand, it will be cheaper. And it turned out they were correct, and it was now at a point where it was cheap enough that they could keep making it. I think the thing that always impresses me is how many really quite good episodes of Power Rangers there are when everything is being made for about $12.
Yeah, the deck was really stacked against them, and then that's easy to forget. Even from the scriptwriting perspective, I imagine there was very short turnarounds.
Oh, God.
Like, we give those guys hell all the time, but if I imagine there were several times it's like, oh, we have this actor gone, need to write a script about Trini being missing, you have until 3 p.m.
If they're shooting 4 episodes a week,
Yeah.
they're writing 4 episodes a week.
Do you think that's where the depth comes from? Like, you know, obviously, like I said, you know, there's a lot of money minded decisions going on here. Like, maybe it's that, you know, people have had to come together and be really creative with their small resources. It actually gives it, because it's more than, I mean, you know, I'm not as passionate as you guys, but it's more than just like a shallow minded money maker now.
Yeah.
For a lot of people. Like, there's something that's really captivating and magical about it. Do you think that's part of...
I think certainly there's something to be said for the restrictions being placed on the show being good. I mean, for that sort of thing, you can even just look at Star Wars for an example. Like, people love the original trilogy, and originally that was attributed to George Lucas, and it's part of that. But part of it too was the restrictions. Like, he had to shoot using models. He had to have the script written by the studio because they weren't happy with it. And that sounds like a bad thing until you see his prequel trilogy, where he had total creative control. Everything was CG. Like the weird sort of what's the council called in Star Wars?
The Galactic Council?
Something like that.
The big spherical room.
Yeah, all that and the trade negotiations and stuff like that were in the first draft of the original Star Wars film. And they were cut out because people at the studio were like, no, that's boring. No one wants to see that.
They were right.
Exactly. So it's not like it's very hard to know what restrictions are good and what restrictions are bad sometimes. And you can't take that for granted.
I mean, because they've also, at the same time, they've got this fascinating set of restrictions where they've got half the show already produced for them.
Yeah.
And they have to
Right around
fit whatever they want around that.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's solved by basically just adapting the Japanese episodes. My understanding of Samurai is that it's largely the Japanese plots taken directly.
Yeah.
Whereas something like Power Rangers in Space, the original, I think, Mega Ranger
Wasn't set in space.
It's like guys who go into computers and fight viruses and stuff.
Yeah.
And
it was heavily...
It becomes this sprawling, like, space epic set on multiple planets.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's a fascinating piece of television.
I think, too, part of why Power Rangers is getting a bit better now in sort of... It goes up and down. But we're getting to the point now where people who cared about the show as kids are at the age where they can contribute creatively. And I think we're just starting to enter that period now. But people like Yoshi, who plays... help me out here, Michael.
Coda.
On Power Rangers.
It's on your fantasy
Dino Charge. Yes, I know. Who plays Coda in Power Rangers Dino Charge. I was a huge fan of the show growing up, and it was a dream come true for him to play a Power Ranger. You know, and I think that passion comes through on screen. So I think going forward, we're going to see more and more of that sort of thing.
Hopefully. At least for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then we'll get kids who grew up with seasons that no one cared about.
Oh yeah, let's
Except
bring
them.
back... I couldn't think of a bad season. That's really bad. Mystic Force? No, I don't know. What do you...
I don't even know what a bad season
Jungle
is.
Fury, there we go.
I don't know that Jungle Fury's bad.
Alright, what's a bad season, Mike?
I don't know.
There's definitely...
Turbo?
Yeah,
People
there
don't
it
like
is.
Turbo.
Turbo is terrible.
I have a lot of love for Turbo.
It's because you were very small when it was
Yeah, that's
on.
because I was 7 when it was airing, and I was
Nostalgia
I was
bubbles.
exactly who Power Rangers Turbo was aired at.
You had everything in your brain except for the bit that discerns,
Hey,
basically.
look, there was a kid who was a nature spirit, and his name was Erutan, which is nature backwards. That's the highest rated episode of that show on IMDb.
Oh dear.
We will get to that in about 2030, but until then, we'd better get to the Ninja Encounter Part 1.
Yeah.
So,
Did we have any emails or anything we need to
no,
read?
we didn't. No one's emailed us gay porn,
That's sad.
which is weirdly disappointing.
Did you ask for it?
Kind of.
The matter of speaking.
We'll explain that off air. I don't think we need to
okay.
explain that again. That
Maybe, because I think you need to contextualize it a little bit, just to jog people's memories, maybe. Because we don't want people to
It
think...
was a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Just-
We don't just want people to just email us gay porn. If we wanted that, we could get that on the internet.
Yeah, it's freely
I
available.
assume you
What-
just
what did
Googled
we-
gay porn.
Yeah, I think that's how that works. What
Man,
did
I'm
you...
a little concerned about your hobbies.
Yeah, that's fair.
Look, it's episode 82. If this is when you're starting to get concerned, it's way too late.
I'm pretty generous.
Explain to Sarah and the people just tuning in. this
We were
episode.
disappointed that no one had written fan fiction about our show,
Oh, okay.
which we basically assumed would be gay porn.
Yeah, because of the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so now we can
Challenge
go...
accepted.
Oh, before we go, Sarah, how do you feel about Jason and Zach and Trini leaving the show?
How do I feel about it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting. This is why I'm sort of starting to ask the questions about what Power Rangers is as a creation and how
Change affects that.
how change affects that and how disposable certain elements that you think are important become.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. I also find it confronting because, I mean, to be fair, the only thing I know about Power Rangers is what you guys have shown me, which has been the episodes that I've been on the radio show. So, I think Power Rangers is about to change for me.
Yeah.
You're about to meet Matt's favourite Power Ranger of all time. And certainly, if not the best, top 3.
Yeah.
And Matt's least favourite Power Ranger of all time.
What a roller coaster.
In the history of the show, they both arrive in the same episode.
Yep.
How many episodes? 800 something?
Is there a reason for that? Were you just feeling very emotional the day that this aired?
Here's the deal. I don't know that he's wrong about either of those feelings.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got to... Because you hated Jason before, so...
I definitely came around on Jason, and I'm not sure that I definitely didn't hate Jason in the way that I hate Rocky. I've almost come totally around on Jason. I think we'd be very lucky if I learned to dislike instead of hate Rocky.
So we'll be back after the break with more of Matt's opinions about Rocky, and I guess some other talking. And we'll see you then.
See you guys. All right, welcome back. We just watched episode number 82, the Ninja Encounter Part 1.
Yep.
Just as a heads up, my condition has deteriorated somewhat since even last we spoke.
At some point, we may have to let Matt leave, replace him with someone who looks vaguely like Matt from behind, and substituting clips of him talking from earlier episodes.
Yeah. So this episode was absolutely terrifying to me. It had one of the scariest scenes I've seen in an episode of Power Rangers so far, because Bulk and Skull were responsible for the care of a child.
It was kind of adorable.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
It was too, but it was concerning as well, given that they're very bad at handling themselves, let alone a small life.
Yeah.
So, Michael, shall we take it from the top of the episode?
Yeah, let's take it from the top. All right. So at the start of this episode, everyone's hanging in the park.
Yeah.
Kimberly likes the song on the radio.
Do you know the song?
I do know the song. It's called She's Got the Answers.
Oh.
It was written by Ron Wasserman for Sweet Valley High,
Oh, that's
also
amazing.
produced by Saban. So they discovered that they had a song and decided that they would get double duty out of it.
I thought it was implied that Jason was playing the song because
No.
he had a guitar,
I mean, it could have been, but
It sounded like a band.
like an actual
Yeah.
song. This
Yeah.
show.
So the band produced Sweet Valley High.
yeah.
I had no idea. And
You were confused because it didn't have any footage from Japanese show.
if only. And it also had music by Mr. Ron Weisman.
Yep.
I think maybe we should watch an episode of that show you just mentioned.
Sweet Valley High.
Thank you. Yeah.
I believe there's an episode that Jason David Frank is in.
What?
I believe.
Shut the front door.
So we may have to look into that.
yeah,
I've never seen an episode of Sweet Valley High
but
because I wasn't a teenage girl in 1996.
I think I used to watch it.
you were far off a teenage girl at that point, baby. But
No,
it's
but I
possible you saw
remember
it.
it, like reruns being on
Yeah.
TV.
We'll look into that. I'll make a note in the show notes. So there's 3 roller skating kids
Yeah.
in conveniently Power Rangers colours.
Specifically, the missing Power Ranger colours.
Yeah. Let's talk about how the missing Power Rangers are handled.
Okay.
It's not terrible.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. Actually, considering the track record of this show, the way it's handled is actually almost seamless.
Yeah.
Like, unless you know to look for the fact that the other characters are noticeably absent for 90% of the episode. Like, even if I just went back and watched that episode, it's possible that I might not have picked up on the fact that...
Yeah, other than the part that is weird, which is that 3 of the main characters don't appear particularly in the episode.
Yeah.
And even then, they get around it by reusing some old footage.
In a way, that's pretty clever. Like, for example, they're having a picnic at the park at the start of the episode, and they obviously had a good clean shot of Srini sitting on a picnic blanket, so they popped her in there.
Yep.
And because it's the park they always use, it's pretty seamless.
Yeah.
They do they use the same scene twice. The
Yes,
shot
they
of
do.
her. But to a child that is the target audience,
Yeah.
it would be
You would
pretty
know.
effective.
Yeah.
Later in the episode, we'll see they reuse a command center shot
Yep.
and have gotten everyone else to wear like a
Same.
costume that they'd previously worn.
Yeah.
Which,
So in some shots, you have just the group standing while Zordon gives them new dialogue and they don't speak. And then anytime the Rangers have to say something that's new, it's a shot of only the 3 of them.
yeah.
But you might get like a shoulder of one of the others.
Yeah. They're in that room. They're there.
Yeah. Like, it's pretty good.
Yeah, given what they had to do and what they had to work with,
Yeah.
it could have been much worse.
If anything, I kind of applaud them for not just being like, oh, they died, they drove off the cliff, here's the
Yeah.
new Rangers.
Yeah, that's fair.
They went to some effort, and I appreciate that.
All right, so we meet Mr. Anderson, who, I don't know, something's just off about
So
him.
creepy.
He's definitely not Neo,
So-
though. Like, that's all I know.
He's played several roles in the show already.
He's that
including
forgettable.
including a character named Mysterious Old Man from An Oyster Stew. If I'm correct,
Just to be
that's
clear, Oyster Stew is the name of the episode. His character title wasn't Mysterious Old Man
No.
from an Oyster Stew.
If I'm correct, that makes him the strange old man who sells Zack
Oh, yeah.
a ring
Were you there for that one,
or
Sarah?
earrings
I was there for that one.
that is
Ah.
actually a putty in disguise.
That's amazing.
From
So-
his trench coat, right?
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
I do remember this.
He's about
His
that
wife
creepy.
had died.
Yes. He's about that creepy in this episode.
Yeah, yeah.
Despite actually being a human.
Something strangely aloof about his expressions.
Yeah.
Just
I
sort of.
think it may just be that he is a terrible actor.
It's a good guess. Let's stick with that theory for the moment.
All right, so they're watching a TV in the park, which apparently was something you could do.
Yeah, I used to do that. We, my family had an old, like, big black box that was like a radio and cassette player and tiny black and white television
Right.
that we could take to the park, which is pretty cool when you think about it, because this is early 90s.
Yeah.
Like, it was another 15 years, maybe a bit less, to the iPhone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, it's a thing.
So they're watching a news story about a ninja tournament, cementing the fact that this show does not know what ninjas or tournaments are.
Or what newsworthiness is.
I mean, look, I'm imagining that that's like the local Angel Grove station.
Yeah.
In which case, they've done as many stories on giant monsters as they possibly can. So, you know, I guess some
They're
kids
thankful.
punching each other is all right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. For the greatest ninjas in the world, they're pretty white.
Well, the new three, you mean?
No, yeah, the three in black.
Well, Adam's Asian American.
No, the evil three.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, they're so white. They could not be more white.
No, the new three are quite racially diverse.
Yeah.
So they're going to be competed against three kids from Stone Canyon High,
Yeah.
which we learn is the high school just outside Angel Grove.
Yes, conveniently.
Yeah.
Like, just outside where the zone would be, that would be, like, weird if they hadn't turned up before.
Yeah, exactly.
We drew that exact line.
So Lord Zed has decided that a ninja competition is the perfect place for him to select an elite squad to defeat the Power Rangers. He knows about, like, the Marines, right?
Like, he needs teenagers with attitude, Michael.
Does he, though?
I
So
feel
it
like...
hasn't changed since the last time I saw a Lord Zed episode,
No.
right?
No.
He sees something and then turns that thing into
His plan.
his plan.
Yeah.
And there's nothing outside of that
Thing that's going
exists.
on. Yeah.
No.
Right, okay.
He's never got a plan that he prepared last week and then makes it relevant this week. No.
I can
So
relate.
at this point, Jacob is Mr. Anderson's son.
Yep.
And Jacob's pram starts rolling away.
Mm-hmm.
This sequence goes for about 12 minutes.
Just before that, though, his empty pram rolls down and hits the bikes of the bad ninjas.
Oh, that's right, yep.
And the bad ninjas are so aggressive towards this guy. They start... Because the pram basically taps one of their motorcycles.
Yeah.
And they start manhandling him, threatening him, and pushing him around.
I'm imagining that in the original script, the motorcycles collapsed into each other and all fell over.
Yeah.
But they couldn't afford to knock over three
No,
motorcycles.
you might damage it.
So they could have a pram very gently run into a motorcycle.
It was either that or have, like, some wood cutouts that were painted as motorcycles. And they decided they couldn't quite get away with that.
Oh, boy.
So yeah, as Michael said, while this altercation's going on, Mr. Anderson puts Jacob back in the pram and he starts rolling down the hill. At that point, or just before that rather, Jason, Trini and Zach all leave.
In
Back to the
a
camera.
long shot.
In a long shot. Back to the camera, leaving the other three rangers, the only ones at the park, along with the rollerblading new guys. And they take off after this pram that's rolling down the hill.
Do you want to know an interesting thing about Jacob, the small child?
Very much so, yeah.
He's related to an actor on the show.
Oh, yeah. Who's he related to?
He's Jason David Frank's first child.
Wow. Oh, that's Jacob.
Yes,
His
that's
name is-
Jacob Frank.
Yeah, his name's actually Jacob.
Yes.
This guy has a Facebook page, like a fan page for his dad that he runs on Facebook.
Oh, really?
It's kind of nice.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. So that's the end of that story. But
I would assume then that the child is named Jacob because it's really easy to make him act.
yes,
In much the same way that all of Charlie Sheen's characters are named
Charlie. Yeah.
Because, when you're a baby / coked out of your mind,
Yeah.
it's really just easy to get you to react to your own name.
And the same way that Tracy Morgan's character on 30 Rock is named Tracy Jordan.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
I was genuinely concerned for this child because,
Really?
yeah.
You are the only person. Please explain why.
Not in the story. As an actor, he looked like he was genuinely crying.
Oh, he was upset a lot at the time. But his dad was there, So
Like, what did they do to make him cry all the time?
I feel like he was just crying. He's a young kid. It's a weird thing to be on the
How
movie
old
set.
would you say this kid is? I'm terrible at babies.
Well,
Three?
he was supposed to be talking at some stage.
I would say 3.
3? Okay, he's
They-
3.
They use the term baby for him, but he's definitely not a baby. I think it's a bit erroneous.
No, I feel like I wouldn't have been surprised to see him toddling.
Yeah. Yeah, don't like late toddler, I would say.
Okay. Apparently that's 3. I don't know.
They had that, weird, clearly not him, line dubbed over. Gosh, what was that about?
I don't think that was the baby. I don't think that was the
Well,
baby.
I think,
kind of
it had to be.
implied.
But he was saying, are you going to go to the ninja competition? And I think he was supposed to be saying it to the pram, but there's no one in the pram. And if, within universe, there's no one within the pram. And we know he's not saying it to his dad, because afterwards his dad says, oh, I'm so proud of you, son. I imagine he's a little less proud 2 minutes later when half of the contestants of the ninja tournament start brutalizing him.
Okay, So look, here's what happens, right? The baby starts rolling away.
Yeah.
The new Power Rangers, let's just call them that. Let's not bother.
Yeah.
They skate after the baby.
Yeah. It's interesting that they enter this show skating, which is basically the same way they enter Power Rangers the movie as well.
They enter the movie skydiving and then skating.
Yeah, but they're wearing their skates, so as soon as they hit the ground, they can get straight to skating.
Well, I mean, that's how you do it, Matt. Otherwise, it's not rad enough.
Yeah, you don't mess around.
Clearly, in 1996, skating was the cool thing.
It was though.
It was, yeah. Like I was roller skating at that age.
Okay, so Tommy and Kimberly and Billy also start running after the baby.
Yeah.
Bulk and Skull start running after the baby.
Yeah, this is awesome.
This might be the best part of this episode.
Yeah,
It's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely go on down the track to becoming just really good guys.
Yeah.
And I was sort of wondering where we'd start seeing that progression. And rather than see a progression, it just happens this episode. Like, they're a little bit...
Last week, they would have been... Like, I don't actually remember what episode was last week.
They would have been bastards.
They would have been assholes.
Yeah.
And they were probably trying to discover the Power Rangers' secret identity.
Yeah.
This week, they're saving babies.
Yeah. They do it for slightly selfish reasons later on. But that's after they've rescued the child, before they even realise they can use it to their advantage.
But this is actually like part of their arc. They become good people.
It's less of an arc and more a straight line drawn between two
Episodes.
completely separate points.
This is a surprise.
Well, like, not to spoil too much for you, but in a few seasons, like quite a while actually, they actually both become police officers.
And chimpanzees.
That happens too.
What?
Don't worry,
At the same
they get
time?
better.
At the same time?
Yeah. Not like for an episode. It goes on for a long time.
It basically, by the time we get like 5 seasons into the show, they'd been in every episode and
Wow.
wanted a break, but the show couldn't slow down. So they turned them into monkeys. The actors could go on break and just record like dubbed voice lines. It's the best. It might be the best thing to happen in the entire show.
It's a pretty great... It's not like, oh, Bulk and Skull going on holiday, bye guys. It's like, no, they turn into monkeys.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
This show is nothing if not resourceful. I
Yeah.
think that's
How
fair.
long were those actors on the show? Like until the end?
No.
7 or 8 years?
Yeah, a long time.
Wow.
Much longer than any of the Power Rangers, by far. At least one of them ends up going into space on a space colony with some of the Power Rangers.
Wow.
That's commitment. And then both of them, to greater and lesser extents, actually appeared like 2 years ago on the show. The guy who plays Skull played his character, who was the dad of like a teenager in that series, and he came back for that.
Wow.
So they've got a pretty intense history with the show.
Did they get a pay rise?
I don't expect so.
They got to go to New Zealand. That's about as good as it gets on this show.
That's just awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright. So, Bulk and Skull have got these weird skateboard things.
Yeah.
They're like a scooter,
Yeah.
but all of it has wheels on it.
Yeah, and they can be flat like a long skateboard. as
Yeah.
well.
I don't know what it is.
I definitely remember them.
Okay.
You know, they were a thing at the time. And when you think about it, like, razor scooters weren't far off becoming the hot shit.
No. I think I've probably still got a Razor scooter.
Probably. And skateboards are obviously big at that point.
So this is a
And it-
hybrid.
Yeah, an interesting transitional phase.
They were really weird. They're like sort of 3 segmented parts,
Yeah,
all
it's-
with wheels and bendy and.
It's like a little caterpillar.
I think the weird part is, like, when they're using it as scooters, it almost doesn't look like it's designed to be that way.
Yeah. So
It
it has handles up
Yeah,
there.
but, like, you can see all the weird segmenty under... I don't know.
I imagine it would require an immense amount of balance because there's nothing weighting you to the back. You
Yeah.
know?
Both very good at it.
Yeah. Well, they're
Were
both.
they? I think they were.
Yeah, they're both pretty great physical actors, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if they're both quite coordinated.
So, this runaway pram, I'm not joking, when it's got to go for at least a couple of minutes.
We got about
Oh
halfway
my
through, and I asked Michael if the episode was over yet, and I was only half kidding. Like, there's no way there's a hill that big at Angel Grove.
So, they go past like a guy carrying some long planks of wood.
Yep.
And they go down a hill past some old people, past a ladder.
They go past two guys who are carrying outstretched a banner for the ninja tournament.
Frankly, the only thing it's missing is a pane of glass being carried between two people.
Yeah, and that's just dangerous. They couldn't do that.
No.
But what I want to know is what situation, see if you guys can come up with this. Do you need to go to the park, open the banner for the ninja tournament, walk across the park with it open and outstretched, and then go home again? Or to the youth centre?
I got nothing.
Me,
Maybe they were going to hang it between some trees.
But no, that's plausible. I'll give you that.
So my favourite part of this runaway baby sequence is when it's going down a hill. It goes between like a couple on a picnic blanket, and the couple just roll out of the way.
Yeah, they're the biggest.
Neither of
assholes.
them, like, look, I'm not saying that thing wouldn't hurt if it hit you in the head, but if you turned around and just went both hands,
Yeah.
you're going to stop it.
Oh, so
it's
like
not
they're made
a
of-
runaway car.
They're made of light plastic.
It's
You're
a
gonna be fine.
baby.
Yeah.
Like,
What really gets me too is that even the people who like aren't near it and couldn't possibly stop it don't even look at it. Like, they just don't give a shit that this is happening.
It was a really strange juxtaposition. Like there were some people screaming, "Stop
Yeah.
the baby!" and then there were some people there
Just
without
flat out ignoring them.
any expression at all, just
Yeah.
sort of placidly looking at the sky.
Yeah,
You're like, "What is this?
they're bad people.
Bad people."
And then it's a bit where the pram goes past a guy on a ladder who I guess is doing tree maintenance or something, and he falls down from the top of this quite tall ladder onto his back, and they play it like a pratfall.
yeah, because
And
he
I'm
like rises back up into shot. Like,
Yeah.
that was silly of me.
Yeah, it's like, no, go to hospital. You probably have a spinal injury.
Yeah, that was a really weird close up of his face as well.
Yeah.
That one, like it was just so strange. It was such a long scene. I'm
Yeah.
like, why was that shot
So-
important?
So much going on in this thing.
Right, so look, at the end of it, the baby is about to go off a literal cliff.
Yeah.
Kimberly and Aisha both do flips.
Well, the two boys in either situation grab the two girls in the situations
Yeah, sure.
and like catapult them through the air. We should mention that during this chase, the three guys on rollerblades do some stuff that
It's wire work.
it goes way past not being
This
physically
is
possible.
great.
It's like horizontal spins.
Yes, they just sort of like fly through the air without losing any height for several meters.
It's great.
And all like synchronized swimming, but
Yeah.
like synchronized rollerblading in the air. It was very strange.
And then there was a lot of flips that was like, that would not save you time.
Yeah.
That is a time-consuming bit of
In
acrobatics.
actual fact, you've gone backwards doing that move.
Absolutely.
I think the best part is they start in about the same place as Tommy and Billy and Kimberly.
Yeah.
And they end up at the baby at the same time, despite being on wheels.
Yeah.
And presumably going downhill because the pram hasn't stopped.
In my mind, I can justify that as the path was winding.
Right.
And they had to follow the path because they were on wheels, so the others could
But
cut
the
across
others
the
could
grass.
run through. Fair enough. So look, they catch the baby.
He's fine.
Bulk and Skull come up. They'd ended up in a bush. They mock Bulk and Skull.
Yeah, the other rangers pay out Balkan Skull for trying to save the life of a small child.
It's literally the nicest thing those two guys have done in 82
And
episodes.
they just laugh at them
Yeah.
in their
yeah.
faces.
Yeah, it's a supervillain origin story.
Yeah.
You know, like it would be a completely fair reaction for these guys to be like, you know what, we tried to be good. We were punished for it by good people. We're just going to commit to being bad now.
They'd be terribly incompetent at it.
Yeah,
But,
it's true.
all right. So they're going to... Look, the kids all kind of... They're all friends.
Yeah.
Automatically.
They introduce each other.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like the Power Rangers, the six of them together.
It will.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
But
I think it's because they were very clearly presented as two halves.
yes.
You know, it's not like Billy and Adam paired up and shot the shit. It's like these three people stood like facing these other three people. It's almost adversarial.
I think the other thing for me is all of those guys have left the show by the time like I'm watching the show as a kid. So the Power Rangers for me is either like the second Turbo crew and on.
Yeah.
Or these new guys who I've grown to, the original guys who I've come to love over 80 episodes.
Yeah.
So these guys for me don't feel like the Power Rangers yet.
Yeah.
But, you know.
With the exception of Rocky, they will.
Which one was Rocky?
Rocky's the white one. Although he may be Hispanic.
He's slightly... I shouldn't say slightly. That's horrible. He is of Hispanic descent.
Okay.
Yeah. But he's the new Red Ranger.
He will be the new Red
Okay.
Ranger. You know because he's wearing
I
red.
picked it, actually. I'm like, that looks like a guy that Matt wouldn't like.
Yeah?
He does, to be fair.
Is it because he looks like a person that people wouldn't like?
Matt, can you explain why you don't like Rocky? Oh, no, okay, I've got a more specific question. Is it a character reason that you don't like Rocky? Like, does the character do things, or does he just rub you the wrong way?
Combination of both.
Okay.
So part of it is just a vibe thing. Part of it is that as a character, he's very A, cocky, B, needy, and C, incompetent.
Right.
And it's not a good combination. Like, if you're an extremely competent person who constantly fails and then whines about not being respected enough, like, it's kind of a toxic combination of likability.
Sure. All right, fair enough. I'm sure we'll get to more of that later. So this ninja competition,
Yeah.
I've got 2 questions.
Ninja tournament, Michael, despite the fact that only 2 groups of people ever fight.
2 questions. 1, why is there no Japanese team? 2, why is there no Angel Grove team?
Maybe the evil ones are the Angel Grove team.
And where was Ernie?
Oh, look, this episode did not have time for Ernie. We had a baby to run away.
I always have time for Ernie. Look, all good questions. Valid
Sure.
choice.
Okay, so here's the evil plan, right? They're going to kidnap the evil ninjas.
Yep.
They're going to take them to the Cave of Despair.
Hang on, you missed a step. They're going to take the evil ninjas after they win the tournament. I don't exactly know why. Because Lord Zed talks as if it's a foregone conclusion. So if it is, why spend the time?
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So after they win the tournament, they will kidnap the evil ninjas,
Yeah.
take them to the Cave of Despair, also known as every cave you've ever seen on this show.
Yeah.
And then
Although it has stalactites now.
convince them to turn evil. Goldar does, to be fair, go, okay, I want more details about that point, please.
Can we clarify that point on the PowerPoint slide?
And basically Lord Zed says, tell them whatever.
Yeah.
Tell them they have no choice.
Or save yourself a few seconds. Don't talk, just take them.
Yeah, whatever. So, okay, I have another question.
Yeah.
Aren't ninjas like assassins?
Yeah, there's a few problems with the ninja tournament. One of them is that ninja isn't like a sport or a style; it's like an occupation.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, ninjutsu is a style of fighting, but I'm not sure it's particularly suited to tournament fighting. It is, as you said, more suited to murdering people in the dead of night.
Yeah.
It's just a clear sort of like Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they had a bit more of an understanding of what ninjas were, but only by small doses.
Yeah. More of their shit was samurai shit anyway, really.
Exactly right. And they had a lot of samurai honor
Yeah.
in that. And I think, like, and I'm going to get into areas where I don't know enough. I'm going to embarrass myself. But my understanding is that samurais were very honorable,
Right.
and ninjas were considered like duplicitous and sort of dishonorable,
Right, yeah.
and largely not respected. So to wear that as a badge of honor is confusing.
Yeah. Anyway, so the competition also is the 2 teams of 3 fighting each other until the judges say they've made up their minds.
Yeah, it's also like a wrestling cage match.
Yeah,
where anyone
it's-
can jump in at any time.
It might be tag team, but also it starts 1-on-1, and at the end it's 3-on-3.
Yeah.
So
And there is a referee, but I don't sort of know what he's
he
doing.
does not referee.
He's
He's
just
there.
jumping.
We didn't see him. He's there to walk in and be like, the only rules are, there are no rules. But also don't murder each other because you're children and that'll look really bad.
yeah, rule 1 is there are no rules. Rules 2 through 15 are
Yeah.
on the sheet that you signed earlier.
yeah.
So this fight
Yeah.
is pretty good.
It's pretty cool. Like,
With
again,
the exception of the obvious wire work,
yeah.
which just feels...
Stilted.
I don't know if as a 7-year-old I'd be like, holy shit, she jumped like 3 meters into the air.
In a weird way, it's like, I'll take it. You know?
Sure.
I can buy bad wire work and it's kind of cool. So,
I'm glad for you.
thank you, Billy.
So here is some sample dialogue from our Power Rangers watching this fight.
Yeah.
These guys fight dirty, but the challengers fight clean,
Yeah. So that was Billy watching from the sidelines.
which is always the winning solution.
So good.
Bless.
Oh boy,
Bless
guys.
their cotton socks.
Come on, guys. You couldn't even try? No, of course not. So, The announcer announces that eventually the good ninjas have won. He does say that they're from Stone County, which is a different place to the place that they were from 3 seconds ago.
Stone Canyon, I believe.
Yeah, but
I heard Stone Candy, and I'm like, it sounds like an awesome school. I want to go to Stone Candy.
they take off their ninja masks
Yep.
and reveal that, oh, look, it's those 3 new guys from that place where the competition ninjas were going to be from.
What? What? That's crazy.
I feel like even as a kid,
Yeah.
I'd have seen every part of that coming.
Yeah. Poor Aisha, though, looks so uncomfortable in her bandaged up ninja suit that she walks like a bear. It's like, you do not look like life like a ninja.
It was
you know?
pretty bad.
It was-
Like, yeah.
Because what they were doing was they were wearing gis, which are traditional like karate sort of clothes, with like ninja like face masks, I guess. Which like if you're a ninja, you want something soft and flexible.
Yep.
You don't want a gi because you're going to be flipping.
So Lord Zed, his plan's in turmoil now.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to get the losers, but the losers were the evil ones.
Yeah.
But Lord Zed doesn't trust that Goldar is capable of turning the good ones evil.
Dilemma.
I mean, the solution is just capture them and, we'll make it work.
Yeah, I mean that's worked before on very nice teenagers. So
So Goldar teleports down.
yep,
Some putties teleport down in a pyramid formation.
and immediately fall down.
I kind of liked it.
Yeah, that was cute.
It's kind of nice. So while the Rangers are distracted fighting the putties, which is a perfectly solid putty fight,
Yeah.
it's got a cool bit where the 3 Rangers are like standing in a circle surrounded by 6 putties, and they all do a double split kick
Yeah.
and get 2 each. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was saying to Michael, like, watching this fight, I get why kids thought Tommy was the shit. Like, because of his powers and prominence as well, but he's also really good at doing fighting stuff.
Yeah, he is. So Goldar shoots some sort of like fire electricity chains at the Rangers.
If you watched the show before, you know what it is. It's his sword fire chains, the teleport people.
Sure.
You know. Yeah. I was being sarcastic. It's a thing.
I know, can't tell right now.
I know.
No, that's this show and Matt's horrible disease. So Goldar yells the line, "Lord Zed will be pleased that you have so much spunk," which I assume is a line from the gay porn that you guys haven't written about us yet.
I heard you guys sniggering. I didn't miss it.
How could you? He
problem-
yells it.
The thing is, like, later in the episode, Lord Zed calls these 3 Rangers his darlings as well. And if you're kidnapping some darlings for their spunk, like, things are going to go off the rails pretty rapidly.
So he gets Mr. Anderson as
Yeah.
well for reasons that are...
I expected, because Bulk and Skull turn up as this is happening, see it happening. I expected Bulk and Skull to have another heroic moment and save Mr. Anderson.
Yep.
That does not occur.
No. Basically, they discover it occurring, go, what about the baby? Goldar teleports away, and then they look after the baby.
Yeah.
It's fine, but...
But it is cool that they immediately worry about the baby and then go and check on him and make sure he's safe. Like, it's
Yeah.
nice.
The
It is
interesting
very
thing
nice.
is, they go, oh, the Power Rangers will be there soon.
Yeah.
Last week, the show would have had them go, we'll wait till they turn up and discover their identities. But we've already moved on from that.
Have we, though? I think that was implied. That's what they were
I
doing.
don't know that it was.
I think that...
Because they don't stick around for the Power Rangers.
Even though that's kind of what they said they were going to do.
I think
the
they don't
baby
mean
to
stick
them.
around in that location. They mean stick around the
Oh,
kid
and they'll come get the baby.
when they've rescued the dad.
Sure.
But yeah, that's what I said before, that like they end up taking care of the kid for slightly selfish reasons, but they don't come to that conclusion until they've first gone and checked on the kid. So
Yeah.
it's pretty noble.
Yeah, it's nice. So, Tommy and Kimberly and Billy... let me try that sentence again. Tommy and Kimberly and Billy teleport to the command center.
Yep.
Alpha's going to use his scanners to locate Trini and Zach and Jason and teleport them here. At which point we get the aforementioned long shot of the whole gang.
Yeah,
It almost works.
it does almost work.
It's...
It's just the scene I think they got the closest to it working,
Yeah.
because they got quite a few decent length shots of all the cast together while Zordon talks to them. I could get why you'd be fooled. You know?
Yeah.
You know what? I think, me being me, I probably wouldn't have noticed if you guys hadn't focused so heavily on it when
Yeah.
we first started talking.
I feel like if you watched like the 6 episodes here in a row, like one a day,
Yeah,
you'd go, they haven't said anything new for a while.
Yeah.
And, they've just been replaced. I wonder, was something going on?
Okay, yeah.
But, you know,
Because last episode was another episode where those 3 Rangers
just
weren't
not
there.
in it. Yeah.
So, yeah. I think it's definitely cumulative in effect.
Yeah. All right, so that's basically the last thing the actual Power Rangers do in this episode.
It's so bizarre. The Power Rangers don't morph in this episode.
No, this is the first episode of the show to have no morphed Rangers at all.
Yep.
And no Japanese footage.
Yeah. There you go.
No monster? Or has that happened before?
No.
Maybe.
Yeah, could be the first episode to not have a specific
It's hard
monster.
to because you can call Golda a monster, I guess.
Yeah. Last week there were like 4 new ones,
Yeah, that was a cool episode.
one of whom only appeared for 5 seconds.
Actually, legitimately 5 seconds.
Wow. A monster.
Yeah.
It was a weird moment.
Yeah. That's last week's episode if you haven't heard it already. So Goldar makes the offer to the kids, join our side.
Yep.
They say, we'll never use our talents for evil.
That's nice.
Yeah, good job. I guess that's why you're going to become Power Rangers.
Yep.
Goldar says, think wisely. You do not have much time. He doesn't express... I mean, I guess death is...
But they can't say death.
Yeah, so it's just,
The other half of that sentence is to live. But
Yeah.
Don't they talk about death a lot on this show?
no.
Not directly.
Things get destroyed.
Lots of things get destroyed.
Yeah.
Often in
they
large
threatened
explosions
to
which
kill
kill
the
them.
Power Rangers, though, right?
Sorry?
Like,
The plan is to kill the Power Rangers, yeah, but they only ever want to destroy the Power Rangers, which was a weird... At the time in America, that was the line that was drawn by the censorship for kids' TV shows. You can't say kill, you can't say death, but you can say destroyed.
you can say destroyed.
You can't have guns, but you can have lasers. Which is why G.I. Joe was all lasers, despite being a show about soldiers.
Right.
The more you know, bling.
I mean, like, I could say things about that, but I won't.
No, here's up.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
that's what this show is for, us talking nonsense about children's television shows.
I just sort of wonder who decided that was, like, what made things violent.
Old fogies, largely.
Concerned mothers.
I just still I question their judgment.
They were very reactionary, is my understanding. Mothers would see things on TV, write letters of complaint, often group together to write multiple letters of complaint, and then the TV centres would ban that specific thing rather than what that thing represents, or
Okay.
that sort of idea.
Some of my favourites are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the UK being called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Because the ninjas too violent.
Not changing any of the content of the show in any way, just the name.
Yeah.
Right.
Power Rangers, despite being filmed in New Zealand for over a decade now, was banned in New Zealand until 2011.
Wow.
Crazy,
I'm
right?
curious. Yeah, it's crazy.
And there's always just like weird localization things.
Yeah.
Like the Batman cartoon that was called Batman Beyond in America was called Batman of the Future in Australia for reasons I'll never ever understand. It's kind of like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
I was just about to make that example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like these weird arbitrary things are weird.
It's just semantics, right?
Absolutely.
You know, I think sometimes we get so caught up in red tape we miss the point.
Yes, very true. Now before we stop talking about Sarah's opinions, I wanted to know, Sarah.
Yeah.
You were talking earlier this evening before we started recording
Mm-hmm.
about how you were not pleased with the advent of the upcoming boxing competition that is to go on shortly.
Which
Oh,
has
yes.
probably already occurred by the time this
Oh.
episode drops.
Oh, there you go. How do you feel about a ninja tournament?
I guess, like, I mean, the thing is, I can't speak confidently on this subject of fighting in general because I just, I don't know what I'm talking about.
No one
But-
knows because ninja tournaments don't exist. But go on.
Oh, well, I mean, boxing,
Sure.
I got boxing and wrestling mixed up tonight. This is how vague I am on this subject. But, yeah, I think that there'd be different elements involved. Like, if there's an art involved, if there is a certain level of discipline, and respect shown. I mean, you know, I think
I would definitely argue that's the case for boxing. There's definitely a high level of skill involved.
It's just that the skills often involve hitting the other guy in the face.
Yes, and now there are rules designed to limit the amount of damage that occurs to the other person. Hence, the padded gloves, not hitting people below the belt. Certain types of
Padded
punches.
gloves make it worse, though.
Do they?
Do we know that? Yeah, because when you are punching people in the face with just your fist,
Yeah.
your fist breaks really quickly,
Right.
and so you have to hold back.
Right.
With a padded glove,
Yes.
you can punch for longer
break a
and
head
do more
and not a
damage to a
fist.
head.
All right, I take it back. Boxing's horrible.
I mean,
Boxing is genuinely horrible.
I believe that. I don't think that I would enjoy viewing a boxing match.
No, I've never had.
I would not expect you to enjoy. I would not have invited you over on Sunday to watch the boxing.
I don't think I could also like witness a ninja tournament, even if it was sort of, you know, about Zen, you know, skills and you know, respecting your dueling partner, and you know, even if there was a bit more of an element of I don't know,
Skill?
and I don't. Yeah,
Ninjutsu.
yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, you can pretty it up as much as you like. Hitting someone is hitting somebody.
I have another question. How do you feel about the 1970s song Kung Fu Fighting? Because it does posit a world in which everybody is Kung Fu fighting.
And I think it's a
Horrendous.
dangerous world because everyone is as fast as lightning.
Yeah, in fact, Matt, I think you'll find it is a little bit frightening.
I think that is understating the situation. I would be terrified.
Yeah.
Even though I also have those abilities and the abilities to move at probably super speed.
Yeah. They were Funky Chinamen. That song gets weird when you get into the next bit.
Oh, yes, it
From
does.
Funky Chinatown.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, see, the thing is, Funky Chinaman, bit racist. Funky Chinatown, no.
that sounds like a rad place. Yeah.
Chinatown can't be funky. That's fine.
All right. That's definitely a tangent that we've just gone on.
It's a mad world.
So, back in the Cave of Despair,
This is my life.
Mr. Anderson, I guess they're going for worried, but the look he's pulling off is constipated.
I was genuinely believing that he was mind controlled by Goldar at this point.
It was definitely not I'm afraid.
No, it was dead-eyed and soulless.
I thought he was going evil.
Yeah.
He basically just says the sentence, "Yeah, I'm really worried about Jacob." With about
Like
that
it's-
much emotion.
Like it's a lie said by someone who is possessed.
Yes, Jacob worried about...
Yes, I am concerned for the health of my spawn.
It's the straight... Yeah. He was better when he was selling jewellery out of his coat.
Yeah, I love that character. It's so much better.
Creepy.
All right, so Bulk and Skull are in the park with Jacob.
Yeah.
Bulk has a bag with him that is probably never-ending, much like his lunchbox.
Yeah, it's established that Bulk has one of those bags from Harry Potter that has no bottom.
He
Or Santa
pulls-
Claus's sack.
He pulls out like a pizza and a sandwich and a pretzel and a bagel and
Thing is-
corn on the cob.
Both occasions, it was endless, so he could have an endless amount of food to pull out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So mean.
I think my best...
So, I just really like the idea that Bulk is obese only because he has a magic bag that provides unlimited food. And in that situation, you'd probably be obese.
You mean if you reach into his bag and there was one packet of tiny teddies and that was it for the day,
Yeah.
he'd just be skinny.
Yeah.
But if you can constantly pull out a pizza wherever you are...
Exactly. You'd never stop pulling out pizzas.
I'd get pretty fat. That's
Yeah.
fair. My favourite thing, I think, is Bulk offers the kid all this food.
Yeah.
The kid... doesn't even turn it all down, just looks at him confused.
Yeah.
And Bulk says, I don't know what's wrong with this kid. He must be weird. Which is just like, weird. That common condition that people have.
Yeah. We didn't take him to the doctor. He's got weird.
It was very sweet though, like the kid sitting on Skull's lap
Oh, look.
in a very like strangely paternal sort of like, and I think it broke
The weird tension.
well, I kind of saw it as like, oh, the actors are holding the baby actor.
Yeah.
Because it was so like out
Yeah.
of character.
Yeah, I think it would. I definitely get the feeling that those two would both be fantastic dads.
Yeah.
And that kind of shines through in this scene,
Yeah.
despite their acting. But there's a bit in just a few seconds where two girls walk by and they sort of pretend to be macho and sort of pass it off as like, oh, we're not playing the Teapot song with this kid. But, like, in 10 years later, they'll be like, oh, they're an adorable gay couple.
Absolutely.
And it would fit so well.
Yeah.
you
That's
know?
what I thought it was. That they were laughing at them because they look like a gay couple.
No, I think they were laughing at them because they were doing feminine things and not being because they were being a teapot and not being like, because they're supposed to be like not quite goth but like punk teenagers, right?
Right.
And if you saw some punks doing like
Playing with a baby.
it would be adorable.
In this day and age, I would think that they're just a gay couple.
Yeah, I think that would be a fair thing to assume, and they should be. They're adorable and apparently great with kids.
Have as many as you like, guys.
Yeah.
But don't because of, overpopulation. Anyway.
Yeah.
Have as many as you like, up to 2. So, Adam asks Aisha, back in the Cave of Despair, to try picking the lock.
Yeah.
Which, at first, I thought was like, oh, interesting. She's like, maybe she's from the wrong side of the tracks. Like, she's got some sort of nefarious... No, look, let's be honest. She's just got a hairpin and is wiggling it around in the lock.
Yeah.
And that's going to work.
Yeah.
Because fuck this show.
Yeah. It's also like you've got these chains are made from teleporting fire that comes from a sword, but they have like an 18th century lock on them.
Yep, absolutely. Big brass padlock with a big
Convenient.
keyhole.
Why aren't they magic?
Why do they have a lock at all?
That's fair point. You don't need to undo them because they're magic.
Yeah.
They can disappear at any second.
Yeah.
That's kind of it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the end of the episode.
It's I think nearly the most anticlimactic ending to an episode I've
It
seen.
was shocking.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Yeah, everyone sort of looked at each other like, oh, I guess the episode's over.
I think because the park scene was horrendously long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything else seemed like building up to something and nothing happened.
And I think too, we've been conditioned, even in multi-part episodes, to expect a formula that
Yeah.
involves like human stuff for 7 minutes, Power Ranger more stuff for 7 minutes, and then 5 minutes of Megazord. So even though it's been a long period of time, you're still being like, okay, they'll morph in a second, and then Megazords will come, and then we'll end the episode. But no, we don't get any of the second or third act in this episode.
Which, I mean, maybe it means that next week's episode will be just second act,
Yeah,
and the third episode will be just third act.
possibly.
But also, it may just mean that we get 3 first acts in a row.
You can't rule it out, can you?
No.
Ugh.
They kind of like... It's a bit like Bold and the Beautiful, isn't it? Like it takes 1,000 years for anything to actually happen.
Well, I think it's actually kind of the opposite. In this situation, yes. But in other episodes, in like 19 minutes, they play through a lot of stuff at crazy speed. Like nothing ever really changes, but it's not because they're slow in progressing things.
19 minutes on a daytime soap is about 3 minutes of
Real
that
time.
world's like universe.
Yeah.
It's like 3 simultaneous scenes happening over that one episode.
Yeah.
This is like hours of a day compressed into 19 minutes.
I guess it just didn't feel like it this week.
Yeah, this week I could absolutely see what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's not even really a cliffhanger.
No.
It's
No.
like,
'Cause-
I mean, they've been kidnapped.
Yeah,
but
but they've told us how they're going to escape.
yeah.
Now, like, you could say that there was some question about whether that would succeed, but, like, yeah, of course it's going to fucking succeed.
Yeah.
So we know how it's going to happen. We know it's inevitable.
It's just a series of events.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
of them strange, some of them alarming,
Yeah.
some of them very boring.
I have no idea how they're going to make this into 3 parts.
I feel like the ninja thing is going to be dropped quite quickly or has already been dropped.
Oh, no, we're done with the ninjas.
Despite the fact that this is called the Ninja Encounter.
Yeah, they encountered the ninjas. Job done. Just because there's 2 more parts doesn't mean we have to keep encountering ninjas. It's not called We Keep Encountering Ninjas Part 1.
It's not Frank Miller's
Or,
Daredevil.
I mean, these people are not Power Rangers yet. Are they actually meant to be ninjas? I
No,
don't
no,
understand.
they just, in the same way that a person would know karate, like
They
a high
know
school
ninja.
They
ninja.
know ninja.
They know,
right.
yeah.
They're not even
So
going
they're
to...
going to use their ninja skills.
Yeah.
They're not even going to become Power Rangers in the next 2 episodes. The end of episode 3 is not, here's your powers, go crazy. The end of episode 3 is like, okay, you guys are kids. Good job.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
We'll probably see you again.
They'll go back to ninja class with Mr. Anderson.
Yeah. Unless he dies. Dun dun dun.
I really kind of hope he does end up evil.
I think we have to say Hope he dies.
Absolutely.
Whoa,
After
that's
that whole
unexpected.
thing about I'm not a fan of the fire, but I hope Mr. Anderson sword straight through him, pulled out so you can see his entrails.
Yeah, and if we don't see the life drain from his eyes, then
What's
no
the
deal.
point?
Yeah.
Guys. No. I just hope he ends up evil because no one should be that bad an actor.
Are you saying that you hope his character should be evil, or are you saying that you hope that the actor gets possessed by a demon and turns evil in real life as the punishment for being a bad actor?
Does that sound like something I would wish upon a person?
Kind of.
3% of the time.
Yeah.
Oh, guys. No.
Matt and I, for the record, are both convinced that Sarah is either secretly or partially evil.
Yeah, to be fair, I think 3%, which is a very low percentage.
Yeah, but when that's the amount of fat in the milk, people still complain.
I feel objectified in a very strange way.
There's 3% milk, and people are still like, no, that's too much fat in the milk.
But also, some people are like, that's not enough fat in the milk.
If you were like
Can we stop talking about my milk?
I'm not talking about your milk. We're talking about you. If there was 3% evil milk,
Yeah.
you know people would be like, "That's too much evil in my milk.
For some people, other people will be like, yeah, that's just the right.
I want the full evil milk."
just want the edge, you know?
What about you, Matt? Are you happy with my...
Yeah, I just
I
want
mean,
the
I
edge.
didn't know I was 3% evil.
You kind of did, though.
Well, maybe 3% of the time I know.
Yeah.
But not the rest.
Yeah, that's right. When that 3% swings back around on that sort of wheel of misfortune.
When that 3% swings back around, Matt, you better run. Because this is all pretty mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say that 3% is like 3 minutes every 2 hours, so it's got to happen. Like, we've been recording for an hour and a half.
But, like, yeah, that's a very specific time scale. It could be for, like, 3 years every... Oh, God, no.
3 years every...
It's coming.
Wait, no, 3 years every 100 years.
Yeah. That's still 3 years.
That's fair.
I mean, Michael, have I ever done anything to make you think that I'm evil?
No, you're constantly on the edge of being evil.
It's because she's too nice, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's too nice.
Yeah.
It's nice like the normal human amount, and then nice the amount that is covering up the 3% evil.
So what, I have to be meaner to you and you'll think that I'm not evil?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
We've been conditioned by media to think that anyone who's a bit too nice is nefarious in
Yeah,
intention.
next week they're going to turn out to be Goldar in disguise. You'd better not be Goldar in disguise. And on that note, I think we're going to end the podcast.
Thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. I really appreciate it, and I'm so sorry.
Okay, well, I'm
I'm not
never
sorry.
coming back, and this is me being mean because I'm not evil. I'm sorry, confused.
She's so bad at it, it's great. Alright, we'll see you guys next week for the Ninja Encounter Part 2.
Part the second.
Matt will hopefully be better.
Yeah. Or hospitalised. We'll see.
Oh boy. Alright.
Oh, honey,
And
I'll see you to bed.
we'll see you guys in a week.
Bye.
Bye, eat your vegetables.